question for both of you guys, I guess. Cy-Hawk Week is always, one circle. Just your guys' thoughts on the upcoming game.
Yeah, I'm excited. Iowa State's kind of a younger team this year, but anytime you have the Cy-Hawk rivalry, you know it's going to be a really good game. It doesn't really matter who's on each side of the ball, and they're very well coached. I have a lot of respect for Coach Fenley, and it's going to be a hostile environment, really kind of our probably true first road test that we faced this year. It's going to be loud. It's going to be exciting. I still expect a decent amount of Hawk fans, but these games are just always, a lot more fun to play in because they have that emotion behind them, and that's kind of what I'm excited about.
Yeah, I would have to say the same thing. I think she covered everything. Any in-state rival game, like even outside of just the Cy-Hawk one, they're all super fun. We have a ton of Iowa fans on both ends, so it'll just be a really cool environment. And like she said, it's a hostile one, so they have great fan base, and it's going to be just a super cool game for us, and definitely one of the first road tests as well.
What's this one mean to you, Kylie? I mean, you went over there 2 years ago, so it's not your first time back there, but what's this one mean?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely pretty far out from since I've been there last, but I think going there my sophomore year kind of got my toes in the water of experiencing how it feels. But I mean, like I said, they have a great fan base, and it's just a really good environment to play in. I think even if you aren't on the Cyclones team, I mean, they still have just a great support, and we're gonna have a lot of Hawk fans there too. So it'll just be a really fun game.
And you guys scored 58 points in that loss to Kansas State here. You're averaging 97 points for the last 5 games. Was there, did you guys as a team kind of come together and say something about after that Kansas State loss? Was it something the coaches said? What kind of sparked, this offensive output over the last 5 games?
I think everybody kind of just took a step forward in a way. I think we knew we needed to get a lot more out of everyone. Everyone could take a step forward. I could get people more involved in the offense. I think it was just kind of a wake-up call in a way of, people are going to play good defense, but our offense is really good too. So we need to find ways to score. And at the same time, that game was not a very accurate representation of what our team is. And but it reminds you of, anybody can be beat on any given day. You need to show up. You need to prepare. Just because you're playing a team on your home court, it's not a given win. But yeah, I think our offense has definitely been clicking since that game. It was nice to go to Florida and string 3 wins together. That's always a huge confidence boost when you're playing back to back to back. But other than that, I think, we've had multiple people in double figures, and that's what we're going to need going forward, going into the Iowa State game, going to Wisconsin, which is another sold-out game. I think those are, things that need to be, happening every single night in the starting lineup. Or, our bench production has been really good. Kylie's come in and given great minutes. Sydney Affolter off the bench has been tremendous for us this year. So I think it's just those things are something that, we need to keep progressing on.
Caitlin, what stands out about your first trip over there, and what do you kind of expect from a environment, just the whole vibe of being over there?
Yeah, well, the last time we played there was our second game back from when we had COVID and we were shut down for a while. So we were playing on just a couple practices. I think we had just lost to Duke too. So it was kind of a weird dynamic for us. It didn't really feel like, I don't know, maybe not. We weren't fully prepared. We weren't quite in shape. But we played a decent game. I think it was close for the most part. I think we were winning part of the game. But overall, just a really great atmosphere. Their student section was tremendous. I grew up going to some games inside Hilton. I know what it's all about. I know how loud it gets. They support women's basketball. And, their teams are always very well coached. So I think those are the biggest things. And it feels like forever ago that we played there. So I'm excited to finally go back and be able to play there again. And these are the games that you wake up a little bit more for. They're fun. And it's, our third step. And Coach Blitter always talks about, we want to be state champions. We want to beat the 3 in-state schools. So, this is our third one to kind of check the box off on.
What kind of challenges does Audi Crooks present? I mean, she's kind of a post that you don't see many like her.
Yeah. She's really good. And we'll get more into our film and scout today and going over all of that. So, I think she's just really physical. She's hard to defend. Obviously, as a freshman, it's pretty impressive what she's been able to do so far. But what she did in high school, everybody knew about her, so it's not really that surprising. She's just physical. She's big. She's hard to guard. We always want our post to push off the block, so that'll be a key. She keeps the ball high, doesn't drop the ball down when she's trying to score. So, you know, I know Coach Bluter and our coaches will have a great game plan to stop her, and I think it's really good for us. You know, we have a lot of different looks we can throw at her, and I think at times that can be challenging for all post players is, you know, whether we're doubling, whether we're trapping, whether we're playing you straight up. It's just throwing different looks at people to kind of keep them on their toes.
Caitlin, for the K-State game, you were the youngest starter on the floor for the Hawkeyes. Program's leading scorer. Everybody around you is still older. How important and impactful is it for you as a player to have all that experience around you?
Are you talking, what game are you talking about specifically?
The K-State game.
The K-State game. I think, you know, having people around me is always key. I can't do everything by myself, and I think Coach Bluter has always preached, you know, the better that everybody else is, that's how far we're going to go. But it's my job to, you know, get them involved, help them get into the offense. So I think that's my job as a point guard, you know, whatever it is find ways to be successful. If Kylie's in the corner, drive out her defender, get them to come off, give her an open three in the corner, get Sharon on the top and in, because I know that's where she's best successful as a post player. So I think that's just the biggest thing is, you know, finding people ways that they're successful, and I know that as a point guard, I've had the opportunity to play with a lot of these girls, whether it's been here, whether it's been in AAU, or whether it's been in high school. I know how their games are, so, you know, pick apart the defense to set them up for success best.
You guys have played a lot of basketball with Kate Martin. She's always been a very consistent player, but over these last 5 games, she just seems a little bit different on the offensive end. What have you guys seen from her, I guess?
Yeah, I think Kate has just kind of rose to the challenge after our K-State loss more than anything, and I think that's what you would expect out of somebody that has been here for 6 years and has given a lot to the program. And Kate's playing the way we all knew she was capable of playing. I don't think it's a surprise by any means. I think it's a different role for her, so it kind of took her some time to really fall into that. She's a very unselfish player, a very team first, get others involved player, but at times we need Kate to be a little bit more selfish and look for her shot and be aggressive. And that's kind of just what, you know, the coaches wanted her to do too. So I think, you know, the last 5 games, it's been really, really fun to watch. I mean, seems like she hardly misses shots. She's physical driving to the basket, but she plays really great defense too. So, and she's just a great leader. So I don't think she always gets enough credit, but she's, you know, she's a big key for our team.
Along those lines, how much more comfortable do you see Molly in her second year here?
Yeah, you want to tell?
Yeah, I think Molly has been, I think, dominating. She's obviously gotten into that starting role and playing really well, but even in coming off the bench, she's just been doing a great job. And I think we have, obviously, Caitlin as our point guard, and it helps having Molly on there as well to handle the ball in scenarios where Caitlin might not be able to bring it up. And Molly's just a very smart player. She's a very high IQ with the game, and she kind of knows when to take over, when to kind of let things flow. And she's just done a great job on our team of just throughout this year, and even last year, she's a very smooth player, as you can probably tell on the floor.
Seems like she's absorbed some of your on-court swag.
No, Molly's always had swag.
She's so swaggy.
I didn't teach her anything. It's like almost like she doesn't care, and then that's why she's like so swaggy.
Yeah.
Because she just goes out there and hoops,
Just balls.
and it's fun to watch.
They're kind of tall in terms of like the forward position. I mean, there's a bunch of 6'2" kids. How do you sort of counter that? I mean, you'll have a post in there, but,
Yeah.
but that's a lot different to deal with.
Yeah, I think we've played height already this year. I think specifically Kansas State. Their post player is obviously very tall, but their guard players are very tall too. So I don't think it's anything we haven't seen yet. But there's just, I think the biggest thing is we can throw a lot of different defenses at them. We can switch it up. We can give them different looks, which poses a challenge for them to try to kind of assess our defense and see what we're doing, which at times can take a couple possessions. And then who knows, by then we're already switching it up again. So I think that's one thing I really love about Coach Bluter's coaching styles. She's never really set to one thing on offense or defense. We're continually switching things up, and I think that really, you know, keeps the other team guessing about what we're doing.
How difficult or how much of a challenge is it to prepare for a team that's basically all new? I mean, Jones is gone, Ryan's out, you know, all of them are,
Yeah.
you know, the names that we've known so well the last 2, 3, 4 years are gone.
I think it definitely makes you pay attention a lot more, watch more game film, pay attention to the scout better, because like you said, you don't know them really necessarily like you would in previous years when they had the same starting five for a couple years or basically close to the same. Whether it was, having Emily or Ashley or Lexi, all those players that you had played for 3 years prior, and you kind of knew what they were going to do. And that's kind of almost the same way in the Big Ten. You know their players, you know the offenses that they're going to run. But now, it's basically, I think, all new starting five from last year, which, really makes you pay attention because, they all have different skills and strengths, and some of the things that they're doing, I'm sure, are different. So I think it just makes you lock in a bit more.
You mentioned Kansas State is kind of similar to Iowa State in terms of their height with their guards. I think a lot of people just say, so what, it's an extra inch or two. But for you as a point guard, when you see a defense like that where their guards are all 6'1", 6'2",
Yeah.
6 foot, how different is that when you're trying to operate the offense?
Yeah, I think it's each thing you can kind of pick and choose ways to exploit it. Whether it's a small guard, I can, be able to shoot over them or pass over them. Whether it's a longer guard where I have a step on them with my speed. So I think it's, the biggest thing with a longer guard is just they can kind of contest shots a little better. They can get in passing angles a little bit better. But most of the time, hopefully, I can use my speed to get around them. I would like to think that's, the pro on my side of it. So I think there's always just things that, you give and take when you have that type of matchup. And a lot of times, teams are trying both on me. They're switching up the defense. That's what K-State did. They had a smaller, quicker guard on me at times, and then they had a taller, longer guard on me at times. So I usually expect teams to try a little bit of everything, and that's what we prepare for in practice, too. It's whether it's man-to-man, whether it's zone, or whether it's junk defense, which we saw last Saturday. We're usually prepared for all of that.
Caitlin, there's been several
Go
plays.
ahead,
Sorry. There's been several plays, particularly Kansas State game the last few games, where you drive into the lane and kind of almost pause for a second, almost like a quarterback, like reading a defensive end on an option play, and it's led to a lot of easy buckets for Sharon. Just how has your chemistry with Sharon grown in this early part of the year, and especially with Hannah being out a little last bit, she's played an even bigger role. Obviously, that chemistry was so key with Monica. Just how has that developed with her?
Yeah, I think the thing about Sharon is just she continues to get better every single time we practice, and that's so exciting for me. Just the growth she's had from when we started practice in September till where we're at now it's really impressive, and she works really hard. She's always positive, but like you said, when I get into the lane, I want to give her a second to roll, so I'm almost holding her defense to focus on me so Sharon can slip to the basket, and Sharon's hands have improved a lot. And sometimes when you're coming back from an ACL injury, you kind of just need a year, and now I think that she's had that. She's really kind of starting to come into her own. Her confidence is building every single night. But yeah, I think she's just getting better and better. I think that's the thing about her is she hasn't stopped improving. She wants to get better. She stays after practice and works on her game. But I want to give her, easy looks to score. I think she offensive rebounds really well. But yeah, I think the most exciting thing about Sharon is just she continues to get better, and I think every single person on our team would say that.
Kylie, when you came here, did you expect this? I mean, I'm sorry. I know you knew you were coming into a really good program, but I mean, this has become, a national brand.
Yeah.
Were you ready for something like this?
Yeah, whenever you're getting onto a team with Caitlin, you kind of expect the most. But I kind of knew obviously the team, and I knew kind of what to expect. And obviously in any team you're on, you're expecting to get that far. So with this type of caliber of a team, this is the type of team I want to play on. I want to work on a team where everybody's working hard every day and getting better. So, and yeah, it's like I said, just a very possible thing when you have Caitlin and all of our other players too. But yeah, I kind of knew what to expect coming into it, and I'm very happy I'm here. So
These games, Iowa State games, have oddly enough just not really gone according to what people would think. Like last year, nobody shot well. 2 years ago, you got beat in the post, which didn't make any sense. What is it about this matchup, this rivalry, that creates those kind of things?
Yeah, I think last year especially, it wasn't the prettiest game of all time, especially on our end, and we just kind of found a way to win. I think it was 70-56 or something. It was not a really high-scoring offensive affair with two really great offensive teams on the court. So I think it's just, they're physical games. Not a lot usually gets called. There's just high tension, high emotion. That's how every rivalry game always is. You know, things don't always go according to plan, but you kind of have to find a way to win, even if it's not the normal way. You know, if we go to Ames on Wednesday night and our offense isn't, you know, flowing as it should be, or we're not making shots like it should be, you know, we're going to have to find another way to win. We're going to have to find a way to defend. And I think that can be the same story for us every single night. So, yeah, I think you're definitely right in that regard. Sometimes things get a little wacky when you're playing in these rivalry games, but I think, you know, we have the experience. A lot of our team has played in these rivalry games, and also already playing UNI and Drake. I think that helps. We go to UNI and it's a sold-out crowd. Yes, there are a lot of Hawkeye fans, but you get used to the environment and the atmosphere and what it's going to be like.
Question for both of you. Affolter has really stepped up this year. I think she went 7 for 7 against Bowling Green, 14 rebounds earlier in the year. You know, some real like unicorn stat lines. What have you seen from that growth from her this season, and what's it like playing against somebody with that sort of intensity and production?
Yeah, Sid has just kind of taken advantage of the things that we kind of needed this year, I think, especially with her rebounding. And I mean, not having McKenna this year and Monica, I think she's really taken that big dog role, which we talk about a lot. But she knows how to crash. She positions herself really well, and she's just the definition of like a workhorse. She knows, she just is always hustling. Like every possession you'll see her, she's obviously always hustling. And that leads to her getting 7 for 7, getting those good boards and good layups. And I mean, she just knows where to be. She's worked really hard, and she's definitely a player you want to be on the floor with. She's always working hard.
Yeah, I would say.
You two guys are probably going to get the most wrath of the crowd there. How do you prepare for that, or do you just think?
I mean, I don't think it's like any different than any other road environment that we go to. And like I said, I do expect a lot of Iowa fans to be at the game. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Iowa State fans, but at the same time, I think Iowa State fans understand how good women's basketball is, and they can cheer for one team but not tear apart the other. And when we went on our run last year, there was a lot of Iowa State fans that were supporting us and supporting the state of Iowa, which I thought was really cool. And yeah, I mean, but you're a competitor. You know that's what the environment's going to be like, and you kind of embrace it. You enjoy it. You wouldn't want it any other way. And I wouldn't want to be going there and playing in front of no one. So I'm excited that it's sold out. And if it is all Iowa State fans, great. That'll be an awesome test for us. And, you know, get us ready for when we go on the road to places like Ohio State, Indiana, things like that. So just another game that prepares us for, you know, really great competition in the Big Ten. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, let's see, get organized here. Well, you know, it's another in-state rivalry week, our last one for the year. Probably our most hostile environment that we'll have had to have played in so far. Just going to Hilton, obviously they have a great home court advantage and a great fan base, and so I don't think our team will be too upset about it just because they're used to playing in front of crowds, but usually their crowds are cheering for them and not against them, so that part might be a little bit different. But a very different looking Iowa State team than in the past, you know, very freshman dominant. Obviously, you know, Kelsey Jones, they feel like they've had a Jones there forever, and she's going to, you know, be a great shooter again. Audi Crooks is just a really, really hard person to defend. Excellent shooter on the block, and she's just hard to get around. So they're going to pose a lot of, you know, defensive challenges for us.
I'm sure with past teams, you go into this game and you do really have to emphasize the environment as being a factor. And again, I'm sure you mentioned it this week, but how much does this team feel like that's just kind of business as usual at this point?
I think that's a good way to put it, Dargan. It is kind of business as usual. I like that. I think it's very true. I think everywhere we go, you know, it seems like it's sold out environments, whether it's Wisconsin, Rutgers, or whatever. So, you know, that's just part of what we have to deal with. And, you know, it's something now. I think if it wasn't there, it'd almost be disappointing or, you know, like lackluster.
You guys scored 58 points here in the loss to Kansas State. You're averaging 97 points per game over the last 5 games. what to you are the biggest things that stand out about the last 5 games offensively that changed compared to that Kansas State game?
I think it's a matter of us sharing the ball a little bit better. I mean, when you look at that Kansas State loss, I mean, we had our lowest assists of the year. So sharing the ball a little bit better, moving the ball, a little bit more. And I think other people have just gotten their confidence and have had more opportunities to shoot the ball and get their confidence.
Sid Affolter, 7 for 7 against Bowling Green. You gave her a locker room shout out for those 14 rebounds earlier in the year. What sort of growth have you seen out of her this season, stepping into that role? And what's it like to coach somebody like that off the bench?
Yeah, Sid is, she's our blue collar dog. I mean, she just gets after it all the time. She's somebody that has great tenacity. I mean, just brings energy off the bench. She can rebound, she can score, she can defend, she's physical. She just kind of has that little bit of that mean streak that I like, and she brings that to our team. So she's been playing really well for us.
Coach, you say, go dive after that ball. How do you coach that out of somebody like that?
That's a lot just innate. It's innate in their personality and their, the way that they play. We certainly reward that, and I think anytime as a coach you reward good behavior, you get more of it. There's some coaches that always, bring up bad behavior, but I think rewarding good behavior is a better way to coach, in my opinion. So, I mean, we celebrate it, right, when it happens, so that we hope it keeps happening.
I asked the kids this, but the last couple of games, maybe more than that, have been sort of odd games in terms of Iowa State. Last year nobody could find a basket. 2 years ago you got beat in the post on the boards, which was unthinkable. What is it about this rivalry that leads to kind of confounding results?
Yeah, I just haven't really looked back to 2 years ago when we lost there, to be quite honest. I just remember we lost there. But, home court has meant a lot in this rivalry. I think, that they'll do a great job of denying Caitlin and sagging off everybody else. I mean, that's kind of a scheme that, they use a lot. And so we have to be ready for that. And, the way that our other people have been shooting of late, hopefully that's going to negate that a little bit.
What have you seen from Kate Martin over these last 5 games? I know before the season you mentioned she's playing like a pro. She's being aggressive. We didn't see that necessarily the first few games, but the last 5 she's been playing at a different level.
Yeah, I think Kate could have been on the all-tournament team in the Gulf Coast Classic. I think she's just playing with confidence. She's playing free. And, yeah, she didn't start out the year like that for some reason, and I don't know what it was, because she was playing like that all the way up until the beginning of the year, and maybe it was just that realization of this is really my last year. But she's having fun now, and really, she was 7 for 9 from the field. She had 3 block shots last game. She's playing really well.
Crooks is really, she's got great hands, really, nice touch. Speed isn't her thing. How much do you want to, does that make you really want to run?
I think she's better afoot than people give her credit for. I really do. I think she can, I'm not saying she can play 20 minutes in a row like that or 10 minutes in a row like that, but I think she gets up and down the court. I've always been impressed with her ability to get up and down the court. And her hands are good, like you said, and she's an unbelievable passer. But, man, she's shooting, 70% almost from the field. But I have to remind my post players that, Sharon, you're shooting 70% from the field as well.
Do they alternate Crooks with the Nelly?
Yeah, right. The 6'4",
girl?
6'5", they list her as number 0. So, yeah, they're alternating at the post position.
How do you handle their height overall? And they've got a number of kids that are 6'2", the Audi Brown and...
Yeah. They're bigger than us in the guard position, for sure. And you got Naimir Dew at 6'2", Addie Brown at 6'2". They're bigger than we are. Kelsey Jones is 5'10". So, that's something that we have to, we can't grow, we can't change it. So, let's just do the best we can with what we have. And this is what we're going to be facing all year. So we got to get used to it and can't use that as an excuse or So it's just something that's a reality of life. But we do have, Sid coming off the bench that gives us a little bit more height, and so, that's good. Hopefully, and I don't know what Hannah's status is. I have no idea. But, if, she's coming off the bench, that's another weapon that we have.
Go back to Sharon for a second. There's been a lot of plays, it seems like these last couple games, where Caitlin drives into the lane and almost kind of pauses for a second, like a quarterback reading a defensive end on an option. And it's led to a lot of easy buckets for Sharon. I'm just wondering, how have you seen those two in particular, their chemistry build as this year's gone on? Obviously, that was so key with Monica, was Caitlin's chemistry with her. How have you seen Caitlin and Sharon, start to build some of that?
Yeah, and I think it's still growing. It's getting better all the time. Remember, Sharon wasn't our starter this summer either, and so they didn't have a lot of that time together this summer. But I think Caitlin is starting to understand that Sharon can really get the job done, and gaining confidence with that. And the more confidence she gets in that, the more confidence Sharon's going to have. So I think that chemistry is growing all the time, but I think we have seen some good moments of it.
I think fans have kind of grown accustomed to obviously Megan Gustafson and the Monica Sonano, but Sharon, just talk about, what she's been able to do. I think it's not obviously the numbers that, the 18, 20 points a game that Monica or Megan could do, but just I feel like Sharon doesn't get enough credit for what she's done so far this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Sharon's doing a tremendous job. And, the thing is, she's also splitting minutes with Addie. So her numbers aren't going to be just pop off the charts like points per game or rebounds, because they are splitting time. And then Hannah, too, is getting time there. So sometimes, it's a three-way split in there. But her percentages you cannot argue with.
With Sharon, now that she's in the starting lineup and Hannah out, that makes Caitlin Clark the youngest player in that starting lineup. And there probably aren't a whole lot of lineups where the all-time leading scorer is also the youngest one in that starting five. Is that meaningful or important to you to have that sort of experience and age around her? Or?
Well, I didn't know that until now, so obviously it hasn't been meaningful to me because I didn't know that. I just think of, Caitlin as being this veteran because she's played here for so long, and I don't know if, I feels like, this team is still growing, it's still getting used to each other, and, it's exciting because we have that much better that I think we can still get than we are now. So, no, I haven't put any thought into that.
Are they mostly playing zone again, or is it gonna
It's
be
80-20, 80% player, 20% zone. I know, they played quite a bit against Vanderbilt. It was zone, but it's 80-20 according to Synergy.
I know you just talked about the height of Iowa State. You played Kansas State, who's kind of similar, a tall post player, and guards that are kind of taller. If the scheme and anything is not the same, but just going up against a team like that has taller guards, can you kind of take away from that going into a game like this?
I think so. I think anytime that you've had success, going against something that's similar, that you can try to use that as, a confidence builder or an example that, hey, we've done this before, we can do it again.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, you guys.